Thank you all for coming, and thank you, Peg. I also want to apologize to Peg because I did Why There Are Words in the Bay Area in Sausalito, and so she's going to hear the same thing for the second time. But it was on theme, so I decided to go for it. I'm going to read from my book, The Golden State, which came out about, a little over a year ago. The paperback is out now, and you can purchase it there. So I'm an invasive Californian, one of many in Portland. I've only been here for a few months. My novel is about very rural northeastern California, so just over the Oregon border. And I'm going to read a part from a Board of Supervisors meeting. I don't know if any of you have made the drive through Southern Oregon and Northern California. You see the State of Jefferson signs. There's a big barn that has a really big one. Well, a number of counties in California, had votes in the last few years, sort of symbolic votes, to consider leaving the state of California and branching off and forming the 51st state of Jefferson, which in their perfect world would also include parts of Southern Oregon. So I'm going to read a part from a fictionalized version of one of these boards of supervisors meeting, and the protagonist has gone to northeastern California. She's taking care of her toddler Honey by herself. Her husband is in Turkey, he's Turkish, and is in the middle of an immigration disaster, and so she takes her daughter to this hearing to see what the state of Jefferson is about. So that's what I'm going to read. The courthouse is nice and cool under its friendly little rotunda. I unfold the stroller and put Honey back into it and wheel it after Cindy into one of the beige rooms in which municipal business is conducted, and we see already 15 or 20 people seated. Cindy spots her group and goes to join them. We'll just sit over there, I say, gesturing to the back of the room. Honey is the only small child here, except for a very young baby sleeping in a snuggly, and Honey is starting to rustle and moan. I do my customary calculation of suffering, whereas X is the suffering of those around me, and Y is the suffering of Honey, and Z is the suffering of me, and I assess each component suffering as it is affected by the available scenarios, where A is taking her out and wheeling her back to the house toward the looming dark to sit on the porch under the enormous purple sky with her morose mother drinking screwdrivers, and B is staying here and observing democracy taking place as is her and my constitutional right. I find, yes, another string cheese in my bag and peel it open and give it to her and pick her up and bounce her, and together we cast an eye at the Board of Supervisors. The board is 6 people, 4 men and 2 women, white like the assemblage of people filling the space in front of them. One of the supervisors I recognize. She was in Rodney's class in school, I think, and then went down below to get a business degree and start some kind of import-export thing with her husband in one of Sacramento's sprawling suburbs. At some point, she came back up home and took up residence on her family's ancient ranch, where she breeds border collies. I am considering what might have compelled her to leave her Granite Bay McMansion, her local interest fundraisers, her cardio bar, to come back to Alta Vista to live. Her name is Cheryl Clavers, and I only know anything about her because Mom used to get the Paiute Recorder, even in Sacramento, and they ran a profile thing when Clavers came back, wherein Clavers said she was born Republican and talked about her dog breeding concern. For some reason, these tidbits killed us. All the way up until Mom died, I could say, "Seen Clavers lately?" and she'd laugh helplessly. There's a lot of shuffling and clearing of throats, and one of the male supervisors ventures a modest joke. "I wonder what the big crowd's here for," he says, and everyone laughs, but particularly Clavers, who has a laugh like a brass bell being struck. "So let's go ahead and get started," he says. "I'm sure we're all eager to get to the main event. First, I want to make sure that everyone has a chance to speak. We're going to do things the right way here, and everyone is going to get a chance. If you do want to speak, you got to fill out one of the comment cards. Everyone has 3 minutes, and we do have the clock here to keep track." Honey is grabbing at my thumb and pulling it up to her mouth as though to kiss it. I smooch back on her and she hugs my neck, and there's some preliminaries I miss, and then Bruce McNamara strides up. He's a nice-looking man, a man's man, the upper end of middle age, with trim hips and a slight paunch and aquiline nose, bristly hair and jeans and plaid shirt impeccably tucked. He says, "I was born here in the North State in the 40s, and anyone who was here knows it was a paradise back then. There was no better place in the entire world to live, We had booming industries. We had wonderful schools. We minded our own business. Honey, who has been rapt since he began speaking, and his big, rich voice starts pointing and saying, "Hey, hey, hey," and the room looks at me, and I do a little wave and try to appear worthy of a modicum of indulgence and pity. Clabbers is sitting up at the podium with her fake smile, very coiffed, very white teeth and power suit, along with her colleagues, who are all over 50 and don't seem to be suffering from the general physical and spiritual malaise as the other residents of Alta Vista I've seen here and there on the streets. Maybe they live out of town in big spreads out in one of the valleys where the grasses are green and the air is sweet. They drive down to Reno once a month to do their big shop at the Costco, and they go over the border to Oregon for their above standard health care, and they have life insurance and homeowners insurance and boats to put on the lakes and snowmobiles to put on the winter snows, and they are rooted and prosperous and friendly, but apparently mad as hell about something. Based on the quality of her noises, which are calm but rising in volume, I feel that Honey is in the vanishingly rare frame of mind and body when she might actually go to sleep in the stroller, rather than just lying there gaping up through the stroller window at the sky or the fluorescent light until she panics and screams and struggles to get out. And people have been flowing into the room, and the crowd has actually become so large as to encroach on our patch of territory at the back. So I take her off my knee where she is still hey, hey, hang, and put her back in the stroller. And while another man is at the podium saying, "We are an island now controlled by a foreign government," I wheel her out whispering, excuse me, sorry, pardon me." And the people shuffle aside and smile at the baby, and we wheel down the accessible ramp to the side of the courthouse stairs, which is a federal intervention from which I am now benefiting. We go 3 circles around the courthouse, which lets me admire what a beautiful little building it really is. They've painted the dome an odd bronze color, but the rest is white and polished. Probably some kind of veneer, because underneath I'm guessing it's that porous volcanic Paiute stone. And it's got nice lines, neoclassical, short without being squat. Just the right size to stand out of the high desert as an edifice of colonial law and order. Things take a turn for the worse in its immediate environs with those 2 wide streets. Somehow up here we miss the narrow Victorian niceties of the gold country. We've got no cozy saloons, and our main street is so wide you can see 2 tumbleweeds ambling down it at the same time. The land is always trying to reassert itself, or the people always trying to spread out. I have done one loop looking at the wide streets, listening to something that is probably a frog, and feeling the waning heat of the day, but I see that Honey has her eyes closed, and we head back to the ramp and haul open the big door of the courthouse and stand just outside of the meeting room from where a woman's voice has slipped out to echo around in the dim hush of the rotunda. I see it's an older woman, classic Alta Vista, short hair, western shirt, nice white pants. She could actually be my grandmother back from the dead, except that my grandmother loved being a Californian, loved going down to the cities, loved eating crab louie in San Francisco and tacos in San Diego, and going to Los Angeles to visit her cowboy friends in the film lots. I can't in my bones believe that she would support this, but then again, she was a Republican her whole life, and maybe this is where that ends up. I'd also like to think my grandmother wouldn't say Barack Hussein Obama like a curse. I realize it's a luxury not to know. Thank you.